Hello everyone. Welcome to Top Time, your premier destination for engaging and informative content. Today we take an exciting journey into the world of MMA as we reveal our much-awaited topic, the top 10 best UFC fighters of all time by Version Karate blog. Let's go! 10. Matt Hughes. Nationality, American. Birthday, October 13, 1973. Division, welterweight. Record, 45-9. UFC belts, UFC welterweight championship, twice, 7 defenses. Matt Hughes had a ridiculously good career that spanned from 1998 to 2011. In that time, he remained extremely active, with well over 50 fights. During that period, he was able to win the welterweight championship twice, with 7 defenses split across them. In the middle of his career, he went on a dominant streak of 37-3, where he beat some of the greatest MMA fighters ever, including Georges St-Pierre, Royce Gracie, and BJ Penn. Georges St-Pierre would go on to get his revenge, but the two shared an iconic trilogy of fights. Hughes was an incredible wrestler and dominated his opponents when grappling with perfect top control. He's another fighter that sits proudly in UFC's Pioneer Hall of Fame. 9. Chuck Liddell. Nationality, American. Birthday, December 17, 1969. Division, light heavyweight, heavyweight. Record, 21-9. UFC belts, UFC light heavyweight championship, once, 4 defenses. Chuck Liddell is the penultimate fighter in this list who is in the Pioneer wing. He was a huge factor in bringing UFC into the mainstream while also giving the sport of MMA the respect it deserves. Not only that, but he was an amazing fighter. You can add Liddell to the list of fighters whose record is blurred by a poor end to their career. In Liddell's case, he had a 20-3 record before ending his time in MMA with 6 losses in his last 7 fights. It's best to remember these fighters at their peak and at his best. Liddell beat the likes of Alistair Overeem, Tito Ortiz, Randy Couture, and Wanderlei Silva. He had immense knockout power which he used to win the light heavyweight championship and defend it 4 times. 8. Amanda Nunes. Nationality, Brazilian. Birthday, May 30th, 1988. Division, bantamweight, featherweight. Record, 22-5. UFC belts, UFC Women's Bantamweight Championship, twice, 5 defenses. UFC Women's Featherweight Championship, once, 2 defenses. In our view, Amanda Nunes is the best women's UFC fighter of all time. She's had a ridiculous career winning 2 championships which made her the first woman to not only win 2 titles, but also hold them at the same time. As with Chris Cyborg, Nunes' career started off badly with a loss. She soon recovered and started dominating the sport, with some memorable victories along the way. Included in her wins are Valentina Shevchenko, twice, Miesha Tate, Ronda Rousey, Chris Cyborg, and Holly Holm. She's an excellent all-around fighter, but her striking ability is legendary. Not many of her opponents have been able to deal with her aggression, which has led to 13 of her wins coming via knockout. A phenomenal fighter and a certain future Hall of Famer. 7. Stipe Miocic. Nationality, American. Birthday, August 19, 1982. Division, heavyweight. Record, 20-4. UFC belts, UFC heavyweight championship, twice, 2 defenses. Many regard Miocic as the best out-and-out heavyweight the sport has ever seen, and it's hard to disagree. He had phenomenal knockout power, which saw 15 of his 20 wins end by either KO or TKO. He had many great fights, but he'll perhaps be best remembered for his trilogy of fights versus Daniel Cormier. Miocic lost the first fight via KO but came back to win the next 2. All 3 fights had the UFC Heavyweight Championship on the line. His 6 feet 4 inches frame was imposing in the ring and he used it to good effect. He'll be remembered as one of the most powerful and brutal men to ever compete. 6. Demetrious Johnson. Nationality, American. Birthday, August 13th, 1986. Division, Bantamweight, Flyweight. Record, 31-4-1. UFC belts, UFC Flyweight Championship, once, 11 defenses. Demetrious Johnson moved over to the ONE Championship in 2019, but before then, he had a remarkable run in the UFC. He helped to put respect on the name of the Flyweight Championship and proved that even the smaller men could put on some of the most exciting fights. At his peak, Mighty Mouse possessed some incredible speed and mixed that in with some exceptional technical ability. He's won 6 fights via knockout, 12 by submission, and 13 by decision. That spread showcases what a complete fighter he is. His 11 defense run will rightly go down in UFC history. It's a shame that he left the organization, as he still had a lot left to give. 5. Jon Jones. Nationality, American. Birthday, July 19th, 1987. Division, light heavyweight, heavyweight. Record, 27-1, 1-C. UFC belts, UFC Heavyweight Championship, once, UFC Light Heavyweight Championship, twice, 11 defenses. At this point, any of these fighters could have a legitimate claim to being the greatest of all time. If it wasn't for his issues, Jon Jones might have been higher. His record, however, speaks for itself, with only 1 loss, which was a disqualification for using illegal elbows. Of course, we can't talk about Jones without mentioning the controversies. He's been found guilty of using performance-enhancing substances, and has also had legal trouble, which included hit-and-run charges. But the skill and power have always been there for everyone to see. It led to an incredible light heavyweight championship reign of 1,501 days, and he has now added the heavyweight championship to his list of achievements. He's a truly remarkable athlete who is almost impossible to fight against. If you have him as your GOAT, we'd fully understand. 4. Daniel Cormier. Nationality, American. Birthday, March 20th, 1979. Division, heavyweight, light heavyweight. Record, 22-3, 1-C. UFC belts, UFC Heavyweight Championship, once, 1 defense. UFC Light Heavyweight Championship, once, 3 defenses. Daniel Cormier only lost 3 times in his career. Once was to Jon Jones, and the other 2 were his last 2 MMA fights, which were both against Stipe Miocic. In the 22 wins that he had came against some of the greatest fighters in MMA history. He won both the heavyweight and light heavyweight championships and became only the second champ in history, meaning he held 2 belts at the same time. The fact he was still complete for titles in his 40s showed his dedication to the sport. He won nearly half of his fights via knockout with his excellent striking ability, but he was also able to use his technical skills for submissions too. He's one of the best well-rounded fighters in UFC history and a credit to the sport. 3. Georges St-Pierre. Nationality, Canadian. Birthday, May 19th, 1981. Division, welterweight, middleweight. Record, 26-2. UFC belts, UFC Middleweight Championship, once, UFC Welterweight Championship, twice, 9 defenses. Records aren't everything in MMA, but that being said, GSP put up some unbelievable numbers. His 26-2 record was well-deserved and helped him to win both the middleweight and welterweight UFC championship. Those 2 losses came against Matt Hughes in 2004 and Matt Serra in 2007. A remarkable fact about St-Pierre is that he went on to avenge both of those losses, meaning that he managed to beat every man he ever faced. He was able to dominate his fights and holds the record for most takedowns in UFC history. He had an even spread of winning methods, showing his overall rounded game. The Canadian retired in 2017, but his legacy will be felt for many years to come. 2. Khabib Nurmagomedov. Nationality, Russian. Birthday, September 20th, 1988. Division: lightweight, welterweight. Record: 29-0. UFC belts: UFC Lightweight Championship, once, 3 defenses. It's perhaps a little controversial to have Khabib quite this high, but there's no doubting his extreme ability. He was an animal in the ring, and you almost felt that as soon as he took his opponent to the ground, it was game over. While he won 8 of his fights via knockout, he was known as a true submission artist with incredible grappling ability along with a ground and pound that fighters couldn't live with. At times it felt as though he was toying with his opponent. He holds the record for the longest lightweight reign in history of 1,077 days and retired at the very top. A perfect record and a UFC fighter retiring in their prime? We may never see it again. Khabib was special, and it's a shame we won't see him in the octagon again. 1. Anderson Silva. Nationality: Brazilian. Birthday: April 14, 1975. Division: middleweight, light heavyweight. Record: 34-11, 1-C. UFC belts: UFC Middleweight Championship, once, 10 defenses. It was very difficult choosing the best UFC fighter of all time, but we thought the honor had to go to Anderson Silva. He was incredible in the octagon and will always be remembered for his imperious reign as UFC middleweight champion. That run lasted for an incredible 2,457 days and included a 16-fight win streak. You may look at his record and think it includes plenty of losses, but that is heavily affected by a few defeats when he was well past his peak. Before he lost his UFC title, he held a record of 33-4. While he probably should have retired sooner, we can never forget how good he was in his prime. His incredible striking and ability to switch stances made him dangerous and exciting to watch. It's no surprise that he won Fight of the Night 5 times. A few fighters could have a legitimate claim as being the greatest of all time, but we think the Spider deserves it. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up if you liked the video, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We will be glad to hear about your impressions. Until next time, stay tuned for more exciting Track Top Time episodes where we delve into fascinating lists and discover the extraordinary in everyday life. See you soon.